Computer. Thank you. AI bot. Split screen. Where is this? There it is. This one. Chapine. Okay, slideshow. Okay, you guys can see that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
The slides.
No, I don't think I got it. Did you? Hold on. Mine's kind of froze. Oh, okay, I got it.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Next one. What? Where's our solar system? Trav? Okay. So I'm going to just read from this and go through as much material as I can. Okay, here we go. Our solar system and Earth are located about 25,000 light years to the galactic center and 25 light years away from the rim. Now, and I just want to remind everybody that you can find this on my all 70 blogs on my website and 150 videos on the YouTube channel. So all the same materials there. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. The Milky Way probably has two major arms, right? The Perseus arm and the Scutum Centaurus arm, with several smaller arms and spurs. Our solar system is located in a region in between the two arms called Orion Cygnus arm. This arm measures 3,500 light years across and is 10,000 light years in length, where it breaks off from the Sagittarian arm. It takes the sun 250 million years to complete one rotation around the Milky Way. Now, later on, I'm going to read a little bit more about that. And so we've already done a whole complete cycle. Okay, I'll read about it later too. This is what is known as the galactic year. The solar apex, the direction of the sun's path through the interstellar space, is near the constellation Hercules in the direction of the current location of the bright star Vega. Our solar system orbit is close to circular, and orbits near the sun are roughly the same speed as that of the spiral arm. Okay, now we're going to talk about the photon belt, or term, which is actually the there's that. There's a nice slide. Okay. So it's actually around Alcyone. Now, the Pleiades system here that you guys can see is like the seven sister stars or whatever, or nine, I guess. But seven sister stars. So Alcyone's the biggest star in the Pleiades system. And that toroidal field, or that in spirituality terms, they use the photon belt or the photon band. And this toroidal field, this electromagnetic field, that's where we're in. Our whole solar system is in that. And I'm going to read that further too and tell you more. Okay, so photon band discovered in 1961 by means of satellite instruments. About every 26,000 years, our Earth travels twice through this higher frequency band. Frequency, remember that. Oh, did I tell you guys about taking on? Okay, we're gonna pause here for a second. I know it's a little bit off the tangent, but a perspective to consider that our avatar is mostly water, over 80%. Like when it gets down to it. 80% water, and water is like a superconductor, and also it's highly transmutable, right? Solid, liquid, gas, right? Kind of like, and then the experiments that you do, you write love on your water bottle and then you freeze it, and then that comes out crystallized really cool. Or if you yell at it and you yell hate, or if you put up water bottle up against the television while mainstream news is going on, their cadence about, and a lot of fear, and then you freeze it and then you slice it, it comes out horrid. So what I'm saying here is our avatar is mostly water and microorganisms held together by an electromagnetic field. So I will also reference electromagnetic field like our own. I'll say another term is our biofield physiology. Okay. Hold that in thought. Okay. Earth travels twice through the higher frequency band, affecting the material world and our consciousness. It is the date when the Mayan calendar ends and the new world begins. Grand cycles are closing at the same time. So one of the grand cycles was we went all the way around. One of the 26,000 year ones, one at 104,000 years, and one at 225 million years. We've already done these cycles. And so one of the things in astronomy and astrology too is that we're heading in out of Piscean last 2,000 years and into the Aquarian age too. So keep that in mind too, Aquarian and water. So hold that thought too. So January 1987, our sun entered into the first time again into the photon belt or the electromagnetic field of Alcyone and has been prepared to adjust to this higher frequency. So when you get ascension symptoms and stuff like that, and we'll talk about that later. All what's happening outside is also happening inside of us. We are adjusting internally on a cellular level to the external change, fully immersed in 2013. So after the 2012, we really started hitting into these faster, higher frequency particles. Okay. The photon belt in geometry is a torus field, a toric field of energy that emanates out from Alcyone and the Pleiades. The Pleiades toric field is commonly referred to as a photon belt, a band of light. During our solar system 26,000 year transit of Alcyone, we spent 11,000 years outside of the photon belt of Alcyone, followed by 2,000 years inside the photon belt, followed by another 11,000 years on the outside, and so forth. Our entire solar system rotates around Alcyone, the brightest star of the Pleiades constellation. Alcyone and our solar system are revolving around the galactic core. One complete revolution takes approximately 225 million years. Okay, so we've already covered that. Slinky joint ends the bay. Okay, yeah. So you know about the toroidal field. Looks like that looks like the right. There's another good slide to look at. Okay, I want to go down here a little bit further and go. So the completion of this grand cycle major event, because there's a number of cycles of time, quote, I'm going to use my fingers there. Space-time continuum that will coverage and will synchronize at the same time. Number one, our solar system completing the major cycle that takes approximately 26,000 years, known as a precession of the equinoxes. Two, the Milky Way galaxy completing the cycle around the Pleiadian system that takes 230 million years. And three, the galaxy completing the cycle around the great central sun, which takes about 16 billion years. When all of these precession cycles are synchronized, it completes the grand cycle or grand precession. This is what is occurring now. All of these cycles at the same time are converging, and the original start point or reset, this is the zero time or 0 point at the beginning of the next grand cycle. So the Great Awakening, this, and all of that too, if you think about it and you think about how much more the particles and light is shining into the darkness, it actually pushes all this darker, corrupt stuff up to the surface for us to look at. So that's another reason why there's this whole, the perspective of, in a cosmological sense, that it's pushing all the darkness. And so your particles are moving faster. So if you and your consciousness, right, the consciousness which animates everything, right, because everything is conscious energy in some form or another. I mean, a rock is like a conscious energy in some form, right? It's just slowed down, right, to third density. So our solar system's heading to fourth density, which means in spirituality, you can actually listen closer to your fifth dimensional consciousness. So when you're meditating, you might get a bit, or hopefully you get a bit more wisdom and you can make better conscious choices, right? So that's what, and people, they talk about, going 5D. We're heading towards 5D, which is true, right? And, speculatively, like we can have, in the 2037 or something, we could have a micronova or, for our sun, or there might be a solar, and a CME, a solar giant flare, that could cover the earth and kind of like change the water structures, the molecules more, so we could make that jump for sure, somehow, some way, right? So anyways, let's move on. Just as Gaia is influenced by the electromagnetic energy from the sun, our sun Solaris is also directly influenced by the higher particle electromagnetic energy, the adamantine particles or the cosmic rays that are coming through from the central sun. We call the center not the black hole. Well, cosmology talks about it as a black hole, but plasma cosmology talks about our black hole as an actual sun in the center. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking more, I like to use plasma cosmology better, to describe existence. I don't know. We're always learning, new stuff, or we're coming up with, transmitted from the great central sun, Ra. The great central sun transmits pulsating packets of coded, highly concentrated electromagnetic energy, pulsar waves, right? Photonic energy waves, scalar waves, plasma streams, etc., across the universe via a chain of interconnected galactic suns before finally arriving and entering into our own solar system. So that's what I'm going to get to. I'm going to get to talk about these cosmic rays and hitting our ionosphere. And then they hit all the other molecules in the ionosphere. And actually in astroparticle physics, they call it the chorus waves. So the next particles that come down from the ionosphere after being hit, it's a gamma wave. They call it a chorus wave, but I call it gamma chorus wave. So those air showers. So you can look up air showers on in physics, just Wikipedia or whatever. Okay, at this point, sun modulates. Did I read that? Electromagnetic across the solar system streaming. Okay, energy on Gaia's ionosphere or magnetosphere drawn into Gaia's crystalline core, and thus affects our biofield physiology as well. As a result, the core emits radiation at a higher spectrum frequency because it has modulated the interplanetary frequency crystalline electric grid system to a higher level. The entire galactic energy system is interconnected suns operates exactly like the human chakra system. This universal process allows the entire galaxy and all planetary spheres that reside within it to progressively evolve from one dimension to the next. Thus, the ascension process in a much larger ascension cycle. Okay. So, what was I going to say about that? I was going to say something. We're going to take a thing here. Interconnected biofield physiology. Right. Anyways. Okay. You guys, let's see where we're at. Let's see. This is another cool slide, and then kind of just to give it a bigger perspective, like of where we're at and what's going on and stuff, and all these different fields that we're in for now, and then we'll talk about ascension and previous. Okay. So right now, briefly, do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Travis. What is the external field consist of?
These electromagnetic fields? Well,
I mean, just the external world in general.
The external world. What do you mean?
What the,
Oh,
I
you
mean,
mean
what,
out in space and stuff?
yeah,
Well, basically in plasma cosmology, the whole, yeah, our sub-universe, which is 12th dimensional, is it's like a plasma universe, right? That's what they call it, or I call it the fluidic fractal space-time continuum or whatever, right? It's a fluid thing. It's like full of all the particles or atoms, right? So it's a plasma universe and it's free flowing. So basically that's what it is. And that's what when you can actually say, well, everything's connected, which is true. And then, you know, so whatever, all these different fields. So same that and oh, I'm gonna go off. Go ahead.
no, I was trying to just get to the fundamentals. Uh, if we are made of the photons
Yes.
uh, from the so-called Big Bang, a terminology. Uh, so those photons from the Big Bang would be the production of the external environment.
I don't really know about the Big Bang Theory, but I mean I know about it, but I don't really like whatever. I mean
Yeah,
that's a possibility, but the
yeah,
thing about I know that about well, I don't, I think I might know. Our is at least for me to explain things better. So yeah, it's just that in our sub universe, or that's what they call it, anyways. That's what I've heard through the different time because I'm almost 60 and I've been at this since I was 17. And the last place I was living in Lima, Peru, and this shaman kid from England, was basically saying the same stuff, but kind of more in a spiritual sense or whatever, or shamanistic sense that yeah, that this is like a sub universe of 12th dimensional existence, and us humans, the way we're built, it's for that experience. It's for just a kind of, and that's what the 144 is too. It's more of a 12 times 12 chromosomes, 12 strands times 12 chromosomes is the 144. And if you're going through that process, so a whole bunch more, there's more than 144,000 people going through this process, but it's
yeah,
you volunteer to come here because this is a heck of a school to go through this experience of Earth because it's a slave planet, basically. We can get into that too. I mean, right? Because of that,
yeah,
when you get into galactic history and you actually get into like, I mean, it's kind of obvious too to do deductive reasonings. Whatever happened to all the children on the milk cartons? I mean, what happened? It's a slave planet, basically. I mean, why do we still have like, paved streets and like power lines, and when we've
yeah.
basically Tesla stuff is on the shelf, and he dies in obscurity with all the other ones too, guy that invented the vapor carburetor. I mean, it's pretty obvious we're living on a weird planet. So anyways, that experience for us, and that's kind of what I'm getting towards when I get more into the epigenetics of it and stuff, is like for this avatar to keep it kind of healthy so that you can do that. You can have critical thinking and you can have like some deductive reasoning and not be, so socially conditioned like we all are, through our whole lives and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
okay, let's get back to your question. Sorry.
Well, actually, you was pretty much explaining it. Yeah, like you were saying with deductive reasoning. So that's what I was trying to get also to the bottom of, is that the with the, like we were just saying, the consciousness is the whole environment. And
Yeah.
that conscious energy, if we direct it right in a sense, or reason to a point where the metamorphosis of our genetic makeup changes as well as the environment.
Yeah, I'm going to get into that too. That's what I'm going to talk about: epigenetics and nutrigenomics and all of that. And plus your own thinking. You've heard all those things,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the law of attraction, law of coherence, have positive thoughts, and all that. I mean, it's because that's a brain wave. That's a wave in itself. Your thought is a wave.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And then that's why, like, in the spiritual communities, are always keep a high vibe, man. You know, you know, you know, because it's true that
It's true. Yeah,
and
you're right.
your
Yeah.
brain is like mushy and watery too. So if you keep a kind of a high vibe and you're kind of more of an observer instead of letting your emotions take over all the constantly, and you're
Yeah.
kind of more observing, like I'm here, but and you can keep a higher, bigger, that build a bigger perspective of things. Like this is just your avatar. You're you know, when you meditate, when you meditate and you're out like in nature, and because the, you know, the earth's circadian rhythms obviously connected to the cosmic rhythms, so that's why you always feel better too, because it's hit, the electrons are actually going through you better. Like that's why people fly fish or go camping, or you know, or sit, you know, like the barbecue in their backyard, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
that feels good.
Uh
So I forgot what I was talking about.
huh.
Oh, right. To yeah, to keep like a higher vibration, or in your positive thinking, or to manifest things faster too, is to get into that vibration. And so there's all these holistic health things that you can do. You add all these constructive like little tools, like, you know, even having a smoothie during the day, or doing a meditation with solfeggio frequencies, like on, you know, that meditation music, like
Yeah.
on your, you know, outside if you can, like sitting in, like what I used to do at my dad's when I was taking care of him for 7 years. I'd get out on the back, put a chair out, take my shoes off, and put my feet on the ground, and then meditate for like an hour with those frequencies. And I could hear, and then when I get done, I can hear the ringing in my ear, like higher too, like that
Yeah.
vibration, because that's what's going on. I know the pandemic or whatever is trying to, you know, say, oh, you have tinnitus or da, 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 you know, whatever. They probably want to sell another product or something. But
Exactly.
instead of telling us, and you know, obviously, instead of telling us, okay, we're in these other electromagnetic fields, here's what's going on.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
That's what I'm trying to.
It's
Linda,
good.
did you have a
Yes.
question?
No, I'm just enjoying listening.
I know I can throw it all out there kind of fast, but okay. So are we ready to go on?
Yep.
Leaf, are you doing good?
Oh yeah, I'm good. It's awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to read this little short part so I can read this other stuff. Okay. Ascension is a change in frequency. Dimensions are based on vibrations. Each dimension has a range of frequencies, which in turn create the reality or experience within that dimension. A thought here is that one of the other things to think about, a perspective to consider, is not only, if you think about like, okay, the radio waves. Okay, first, what was first? I think it was the radar in 1918, the first radar tower that was in New Jersey on the military base or whatever. And of course, what happened during that same time? The Spanish flu. So anyways, they're always allocated towards dirty frequencies, right? Like radio, television. They're never harmonically tuned to our like chakras, or like the solfeggio frequencies, the natural frequencies, right? Radio, television, now the new stuff, the solar, the 5G, this and that. And if you think about the matrix, think about all those frequencies that are going from here inside our Earth's cavity, right? Our atmospheric cavity, and bouncing up on the ionosphere and down. That's how they do it. It bounces because it's thicker. The molecules are thicker in the ionosphere, right? And so that Doppler, radar, like all of that bounces, and it bounces all over inside this little cavity. Now the new satellites and everything. So one of the positive things that I want to tell you guys about is all of that stuff, all of that technology that is dirty frequencies, even that lighting that it's in my room right now, and all of that, right? It can all be allocated to a harmonic frequency. And do you know what would happen? We could totally heal ourselves. I'm telling you, we wouldn't have cancers, none of that, probably. I mean, you know, unless, you know, heavy metals and toxicities and stuff. But what I'm saying is when we get our heads together, all of us good people on the planet, and start saying stuff like this and start saying, no, I won't have it. You know, when we start being sovereign beings and we're like, no, there is appropriate technology. There's a vibrational medicine out there. There's med beds. There's this, there's that. And we can allocate. So there is good news because there's a whole bunch of people working on all this right now too. So I just wanted to pause there because we're talking about frequencies and you know, the world we're living in and the dirty frequencies versus like nature and the, you know, you always see the ascended masters, right? They're always leaning like Buddha and Joshua, what's her name? Lynn, the Asian gal. Anyways, they're always like with their bare feet and they're sitting up against a tree. They're like, oh. Anyways, all right, where were we? Ascension, awakening. Okay, as a human being undergoes the ascension process or the awakening, that person shifts in perceptions or higher consciousness. Third dimensional reality is the lowest density or frequency which a human expression of consciousness can exist. 3D reality, including the illusion of linear time, the inability to perceive higher dimensions and to connect to the rest of the universe, is forgotten. So like when we come in for this experience, right, when you reincarnate, your consciousness comes into a human form, right? It's like forgets so that it can have these exploratory experiences. Because if you knew everything, right, you'd be well, if I was an omnipotent being, I'd probably have, you know, a buffet, right? And like a harem. So it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense if I, you know. Okay, so let's see.
But Travis, I was just going to put an input. I had that experience when I was younger where I was this, it was almost like a dream in a sense, but I was this out of body type of entity. And all of a sudden I see a picture of a picture you'll see on TV. And I slowly, gradually come into this body. And that was like one of my first like really strong memories of my childhood.
Wow, cool. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I've had we'll get into that later. Yeah, I've had massive supernatural experiences myself all through. Yeah. And I'll give you another example, like what happened to me here. I mean, I've been into this stuff since I was 17, but I know that I really got even into it more about 2010. And then especially seeing about the space weather and actually documenting all the space weather and what's going, you know, and the satellite pictures and all of that. But in 2015, I was in Key West, Florida, and I was meditating, like exercising and meditating like 3 times a day. And what they call the Kundalini awakening, or the star seeds, what I call is the star seed activation. So in 2015, when I was facing like the Bermuda Triangle, also they have other names for light workers like grid workers and gatekeepers, all that. Anyways, so what happens is that Kundalini, it's like this extra energy that gets about in the lower 3 chakras, and like the root chakra, the navel chakra, and the solar plexus, and you feel it. It's really wild, and you're meditating, and then that kind of creates this other part, because your body waters, actually your biofield is taking on more energy, and so that's kind of what it is. And then you're taking on more energy, and all of a sudden your kind of consciousness expands with that, because that kind of energy, right? Because all energy is some form of conscious energy, really. And so when you're listening to your higher self is coming, like it's almost like you're getting more of that higher vibrational self. Yeah. So okay, so where were we? As a human being undergoes the shift of consciousness, which includes increased awareness of energy in the environment and the perceiving of multi-dimensional realities, like sensing extra dimensional entities and feeling a direct communion with source, God, or whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
and the interconnected energy that exists between all things. So it's kind of like your personal, our personal ascension and our planetary ascension that's going on. And so when I suppose to think about it in terms of like the extraterrestrials too, our benevolent space family, anyways, they kind of like have that. It's almost like it was in the, it was in the show, right? Star Trek, right? The prime directive, like, we can't talk to those people yet. They're not ready. So it's kind of like in a free will universe, you kind of have to do that. You kind of to have that experience. I know it's horrid. There's some horrid things that have went on this planet. Like, believe me, I've cried and cried. Anyways, about the underground stuff, and yeah,
Mhm.
but as to have this a personal ascension and go through this process is wow. I mean, for me, it's super humbling. It's like, because, and then you learn that compassionate heart thing. I like you actually, because think about like what I just said earlier about like, if you're an omnipotent being, you're just, and you kind of, I don't know, without knowing, having those experiences, you might just like, shut up, whatever. You
Mhm.
just kind of wouldn't be as humble, I think, or as compassionate if we didn't go through this, right?
Yeah, in the last couple of years, what we all went through, I could really feel strongly two realities. I mean, some people were in a totally different reality than we were. And it was so vivid to me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. They
yeah.
call it that. Well, that's because that consciousness, if you're kind of still stuck in that kind of conscious energy that
Hmm.
aren't accepting the extra energy that's coming in, right? They're not
Hmm.
kind of going through this ascension process. They're just kind of stuck in that Pavlovian conditioning, that's been going on, right?
Hmm.
The narratives and all that holds your consciousness down, or that holds the DNA structures down too in your
Hmm.
biofield, right? And your whole
Hmm.
your whole body, right? And they're
Yeah.
just subject to all the fears and stuff, and no, this is the way it is. And so it's like, it's called a bifurcation of worlds, really. It's in spiritual terms. It's like, yeah, there's our consciousness, and then there's this consciousness. And I would imagine that people, when they go off the earth plane, they go to another third dimensional planet to try it again, or do some more experiencing and
To
stuff.
grow. Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to keep healthy, actually, because I want to make it this time, and I want to take like a 2,000-year break.
And also, Travis, you know about the what they call the Bozeman brain?
Yeah, I think I've heard that term.
Yeah, it's a terminology that that all of the intelligence that ever is or ever would be is in one brain, and
Uh-huh.
that's how they came to that theory. And and I, like you were saying, it's the uh parts of our society that we built, structures, time, and things of that nature, distance, and all those would be somewhat nullified or um, become not as useful as they would be if that was the case. Like you were saying about the the connections. And so when we're talking about interstellar travel and interplanetary travel, so if that's possible with the Bozeman brain, that traveling to, like you saying, distant planet, all that regarding time wise would be n- not as significant as it was, considering that time wouldn't even be an issue because we can interplanetary travel uh instantaneous.
Oh yeah, sure, for
Yeah,
sure, for sure.
yeah.
Even, yeah, I'm sure they're the light ships that are out there now. I'm sure they're connected telepathically with,
Telepathically, yeah.
those guys are like fifth dimensional and beyond. You're talking about extraterrestrial that are fifth, seventh, ninth, 12th, 12th
Mm.
dimensional being or whatever. And then you get into
Mm.
the, you know, I mean, when we crystallize our water more too, we'll probably, I mean, at some point you'll be non-corporeal, or if you can be corporeal if you want, and all of that. In fact, what you just said, I want to bring up a point that right now on the space station, right? Well, the space stations, China has a space station too, but which is they're doing great things. Anyways, but actually, the Artemis Accords are signed, and actually, there's a whole bunch of good stuff going on. Actually, you guys. I mean, I this summer I went to one of the aerospace conventions up in Seattle, and I heard some good inside stuff. So good things are happening there too. I mean okay. So basically, in the space station, to go back to what you were talking about, is that the astronauts and cosmonauts, they had to actually take they had to build a human resonator, an actual machine that resonates at a frequency of I think it's 7.82 hertz, which is supposedly, I'm going to say was our Earth's heartbeat, or actually where the frequency of Earth was. But now that we're in these other electromagnetic fields, things are shifting, like our poles are shifting. This whole stupid climate change thing, it's cosmologically, it's climate change because of cosmology. I mean, it's not like it's significantly carbon dioxide or whatever. Anyways, so there's a whole shift going on, right? And so when astronauts and cosmonauts and everybody goes up to the space station, there's a certain resonating thing, because our body water has been so used to here on our planet at a certain frequency. And so it takes a long time for your molecules to adjust. So that's what this whole ascension process is about. It's going to take a while, but I have a feeling that there's going to be even a bigger, maybe another like Carrington event, right? Like another huge CME that hits the planet, or some things that'll kind of make us jump a little bit more. But yeah, to get back to like that, where we're at now as far as like our avatars, right? And because you were talking about the going out into outer space and stuff, and like, so they'll have to devise some other things until we get to being able to hold more energy, and maybe we'll tune up to a 13 hertz, or I don't even know, something, maybe not. I want to go with 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I want to go with the Tesla numbers instead, because I think the whole Schumann resonances, which I'm going to get into actually in this one. Actually, I'm going to talk about all that too. So,
I truly believe that the brain in itself, which is just a conduit for channeling, and I believe if the Bozeman brain idea is actually true, then I believe saying time travel would be basically through thought. And once that connecting relationship is working at its full potential, then, like you're saying, distance, speed, all that becomes relative. Time, all that becomes relative, because we'll be operating in the now. And so like you were saying about the avatar, if the avatar in itself is just a projection, that projection would have to have a coinciding effect with all the interpretations of matter, in a sense, like, quirks, particles, atoms. All those interpretations would have to be like a chain event, as in bringing the space-time continuum in a present state. And like you were saying about the high vibrations, that would be, I would say, instantly things would change into that environment. Because I remember walking into art studio, and I just happen to be having a because usually I use marijuana to activate my radiant energy, and so once my particles become charged through the elixir, um, my vibration become expanded, and so the environment in itself changes also because, like you were saying, it's a for all those matter, I would say the matter interpretations, they would in itself produce an effect from the, when I was asking about the external world, they would produce an effect in the external world that you would see basically immediately. And so that distance, that's time, and all that referencing would change immediately. And when I went into the art studio, and the guy was telling me, because as I was walking through the art studio, I was seeing the images change. And then he had told me, said, "Oh, it looked like somebody been to the eye doctor."
Oh, yeah, it's interesting. Well, you know, clairvoyance, clairaudience, telepathy, telekinesis, you know, all of that. Yeah, it's interesting that, you know, having more energy, what will evolve.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyhow, yeah, we can talk about that stuff later. Okay, I don't know how much time do we have left. Let's see. What do we got? Oh, we've got a little bit more time. So let's go get into cosmic rays' influence on our biofield physiology. Okay.
All right.
So, okay, cosmic rays' influence on our biofield physiology. From ultra high CR's cosmic rays to the secondary particles, highly charged electrons. Oh, what was I going to say? Oh, never mind. I was going to say something about the adamantine particle, or the God particle. Yeah, the Boseman, the God particle, or whatever. You know, yeah, because you were right about basically the blueprints are there. They're in like every like particle. Yeah, the neutron, or the I forgot what was it.
What?
Anyway, yeah,
Yeah,
the blue. Huh?
they just did a article about the muon, that the
Yeah.
muon broke the laws of physics.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, all the whole thing's there as long as we could get. That's what the whole thing about holistic health is too. Getting into vibrational medicine is like get your body water into a high vibration, right? So when you go, let's eat an apple off of a tree, actually, right? Because you're going to get the bacteria on the skin, and an organic one or whatever. Like wild foods, we don't eat wild foods anymore, but the water that's in the apple, if you pulled it off the tree, it's highly charged too, just like drinking artesian, well structured vortex water, right? And putting it back in your body. The water we drink usually is just kind of filtered, and then our body has to actually utilize its energy, its ATP, to like energize the water that's coming in. So we're wasting a whole bunch of energy that way too, which causes more of our biological aging. Anyways, it's a whole thing about keeping a high vibe, and how do we go about doing that. So you utilize all these holistic health tips for your avatar, right? And then it helps you while this extra, like, it's not like that nuclear gamma radiation, but it's a gamma. In fact, I'm going to talk about it right here. The cosmic secondary particles. Okay. All right. Highly charged astro particle physics. The secondary particles that come through the ionosphere are called chorus particles. A higher density of energized electron particles, adamantine particles, which acquire the role of free radicals within our biofield physiology. The addition of the fifth dimensional Merkaba, or higher frequency biofield, to the Adam Cadman human template. I'm using terminology to describe, like, I'm using like spiritual and science here, so I don't know if you can follow me. Template now requires a higher energized system to become fully activated and achieve a correct spin at higher Then light speed operations. This buildup of additional electron free radicals within our biofield acts as a capacitor until the required charge is released or absorbed. So these are these air showers that are coming in and that people show you. I think we're going to get to it. That's a spectrogram too. The one here, this, I think 04, this one's on the Heart Math Institute, and this particular data center, the 4 here, that's probably South Africa, because off the coast of South Africa there's a bigger hole in the ionosphere, and there's a lot more energy coming in actually. And there's a monitor. The older scientific instruments were neutron monitors, where they trap the particles inside these monitors, and then they can figure out what frequency or what energy they're at, right? What hertz, right? So, and I wanted to show you, that's another spectrogram of the electromagnetic field. This is the one at Tomsk Observatory, and this one's been used a lot around the truther communities. They call this the Schumann resonant or Schumann resonance or something, but that's not what it is. It's an actual spectrogram of air showers, these secondary particles coming in. And on the side there, they call it a Schumann because there's only a dozen. This Otto Schumann, in fact, I read about it later on, but Otto Schumann was just like this guy that came up with some different, like flatline, like different frequencies. There's only like a dozen or something. And like, one of Earth's was 7.83 or something. We're kind of usually at that frequency. So it's a spectrogram that shows the hertz frequencies of these particles coming in. Okay, I'll move on. Where was I? The buildup? Oh, the buildup of additional. Okay. Beginning the Kundalini absorbed, becoming the Kundalini or the star seed activation occurs because the biological body can transmute and hold more photonic light energy. So these air showers, you can hold this gamma wave into our field. This can cause a large pulse of electrical activity to pass through the biological body and discharge excess electron free radicals. That has happened to me about 4 times, mostly at night in delta brainwave pattern sleep. Oh, and 20, right, that's what I was going to talk. So usually when you feel this, when you feel a Kundalini awakening or starseed activation because of the extra energy that's coming in, you'll feel, I personally felt like the spinal, like almost like you're getting a chiropractic adjustment. Okay. So also, let's see. Delta wave brain pattern. This creates a temporary overload of the myophagial tissue. So the phagia tissue, if you guys don't know, is that white tissue that's over muscles and it's over like the nervous system and stuff. It's that covered. It's like Western medicine, like we shouldn't even be cutting into that because that's the electro that carries the electricity basically around our body and stuff to tell like our endocrine system to release certain hormones. So they're finding out that it's more of an electrical system than, so what was I saying? So creates temporary overload, myophagial tissue, and the myelin sheathing of the body's endocrine and nervous system, while the cell's atomic structures change their electron positioning to find other positions on the valence bands, giving off photons in the process. So when you're getting that, it's kind of like almost like, it made me think of the Hulk. Like he's getting gamma radiation and he turns into this big, huge, giant green muscular guy. So think about that for a second. Like that's probably true, partially true. Like these gamma radiations, if we let it in, we're going to let it in more. It's a kind of a symbiotic process. Like we're all kind of telling, like, the higher frequencies, right? Whatever consciousness is up there, like, saying, okay, we can handle another air shower, bring on another one, I think that's what it is. It's a symbiotic process of us waking up and then going, okay, we can handle some more energy, bring it on in and stuff. I don't think it's for me. I'm not a very what are the suspicious observer guy, Davis or whatever. He's more of a catastrophist. He thinks the whole planet's going to blow up and all that and stuff. I'm more well, which is fine if you're just utilize like his discipline is this like plasma cosmology, right? Or so, but for me, I'm using everything. I'm using also all the old esoteric knowledge, all the everything that's been written, you know, a long time ago, because that was me. I went to a metaphysical bookstore when I was 17. I was like, what? You know, so like I'm trying to take on all of it. So I have a very optimistic view of like where we're heading and what we're working on and building. Like, anyways, whew, that's a lot.
I like that.
This transmutational process from an electron charged electrical nervous system. That's another thing about that I'm going to get into further, probably in another webinar, the next one, is the Ascension symptoms and how it stresses actually when these air showers that I have up on the screen, right, that it stresses our endocrine and nervous system, and then you get Ascension symptoms, and some of us get like the sinus cold, some of us get flu-y, right? Those kind of symptoms. So what was I saying? So nervous system to the chromophore and the axiochrome based photonic light system, or the crystalline based biological body, which will provide faster speeds and greater variance of communication abilities. So that's another thing ties in with you, Brad, that you were saying about like when, you know, our consciousness, right, it starts expanding because you're taking on more of this photonic light, right? And it changes your like the telomeres on top that are on top, it knocks some of those off of your DNA strands and then adds more to it.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's why we're when you study water in like chemistry and electrochemistry, right, you're adding more chromosomes or DNA structure to it, and then it can hold more energy. Kind of like almost like solar cells or something. If they just make them out of silicon wafers, but there's solar panels that they can, because you can make diamonds now. They have a machine that can make diamonds, so they could make a fake solar wafer, or instead of silicon, they could make a diamond one, and it holds more energy. It's like 100 times more efficient.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Oh, you should see all the technology that's appropriate that's sitting on the shelf right now. It's just like,
yeah, exactly.
All we really have to do is get rid of, I mean, we're getting rid of the corruption now, and get in there and say, look, we need an forget about presidents and all that crap. Let's have an elderly council.
That's distractions. That's all.
Yeah, let's have an elderly council, like, you know, and let's get some guys together and let's start pulling off the appropriate technology off the shelves that benefit humanity. Let's go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Forget you, oil companies.
Yeah, that's what I was telling a friend of mine. It's like, you know, the technology exists for you can have a car run on water.
Yeah.
But that'll put all the people that's a gas company and oil companies out of business.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. I you know what? On my Telegram channel 3 years ago, I put the Tesla biohealing tachyon chambers. They look like a bucket, and I think it's based on the old Rife electromagnetics. And a woman read it from England, and she put it underneath her bed, and her husband had cancer, and now they're totally healthy and they're running around. He doesn't have cancer, nothing. Yeah. And the cosmetics out too. It's a handheld device, and it is 49 different biofeedback frequencies, and you hold it onto a person's body for like an hour, kind of like when you're doing Reiki or energy healing, or what's the other one? The old one was, you know, in Tibet, they did the Tibetan bowls around a person. It's called clanking, right? They had Tibetan sound bathing around a person.
It's a sound frequency.
Yeah, it's the same principles when you get into the appropriate technologies too, really. Anyhow, That's a
What
lot.
was that one you called? What was it called? The one that he put under the bed?
Oh,
And
there's a discount too for it. It's on my Telegram channel, but it's the Tesla Biohealing Tachyon Chamber.
Oh, yeah, they got one up here in Reading. I actually went past that store and talked to the representative. That's the first time I ever heard of it. And yeah, they like you're saying, they do energy healing with gemstones, and like I said, I think water is involved also.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Yeah, that's the first time I ever heard of that company. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what we're saying is obviously something's going on, right, in the last 3 years or something. I mean, because the gloves are off. We're going back to the moon. The Artemis Accords are signed. What's the commercial space station called Orbital Reef is a go. The other one, they're actually another commercial space station called Space Lab or something like that's a go. And then also the Bridge space station, which is going to be by the moon. I mean, we're going back to the moon and all these rockets are going, all the little companies, and everybody's working together. And where did NASA get all this extra money? So all the good guys, and plus they're letting some of this technology out, right? The cosmotic, the tachyon chambers, this stuff. I mean, pretty soon, I mean, we're getting there. We're starting to like clean up what's going on. I mean, you don't get to see it in the main media, you don't get good news, because if you got good news, it'd probably we'd be too positive. We'd like start demanding all kinds of cool stuff. Right?
It's true.
We want everybody to like, no, I'm just gonna pay my taxes and then I'm gonna die. Whatever, instead of getting healthy. But I really see it going on. I mean, even I've been working with the blockchain technology too, and not just Cardano but Hedera Hashgraph. You can close in I know all the big companies are using it, but you're talking about the transparency ledger where the big companies they don't know it yet because there's not going to be a back door for them. They're not going to be able to cook the books. They're going to have to actually do stuff here in our future. And I've looked into it and the coding and everything. And also, one of the things is that years ago when I was in Ethiopia putting up 2 solar panels for a school, it cost us triple the amount of money just to pay off the oh my gosh, the corruption, the government and stuff like that, to get 2 solar panels from Siemens from Germany into the country. So what this next time that we had stuff, this was about a year or two ago, about a year ago, we actually had a guy that worked for Cardano go through the booths in Poland, right? All these nonprofits, and we kind of vetted like a couple of them. We didn't even send them money. Here's what we did. We actually went and asked them what supplies they needed. We went to the supplier, sent the money on to the Cardano chain to the supplier. They turned it into a stable coin, whatever one they wanted. I can get into all that too. But and then the supplies came to them. So we bypassed the whole banking system altogether. So that's going on as well. So all these humanitarian things that we can get to too. I mean, sure, BlackRock and Vanguard they just bought Coinbase or whatever, made a deal, and then they made a deal with the other stable coin that's the USDC, which I don't use. I use like Day, and then there's going to be another one I'm going to use. Anyways, so it's kind of like reading the labels at the grocery store. Do you want to buy that company's stuff, or do you want to, it's the same thing. You got to educate yourself about, cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology and smart contracts, and, because that's where we're heading into that tokenized future where I get the massage from my massage therapist and I give her a holistic health token on Solana or Cardano or, maybe not Ethereum. I don't know. Anyways, and then she takes it and makes and changes it up for a stable coin. Boom, done. Transaction done, right? No banks. That's where we're heading. I mean, think about that for a second. You're talking about almost heading into a real seriously energy, the energy of currency, the energy of service and goods with each other. And then it's almost going to turn into like bartering or trading almost. if we, once we can get through all this, right? I mean, there's good thing. I'm just optimistic.
That's a good place to be.
Okay, I think what we'll do 5:07. Yeah, we could still go a little bit further. How about you guys? You guys want to go just a little bit, like another 20 minutes, or do you got questions?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. I'm down.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm going to go a little bit further. Okay. This transmutational process from the electron charged electrical nervous system to the chrome. Okay, I already read that. Individual cells with the biological body. Oh, as the mitochondria, you guys know about the mitochondria. I took cellular biology from Harvard. Anyways, long story. I had to go down all the deep rabbit holes and like find out what it's really about. I mean, wait until I tell you about how they buried Louis Pasteur's journal. You can't find it anymore. And Anton B. Camp's microzymian theory and Bernard's terrain theory and what happened in the 1840s, 50s, and 60s. And oh my gosh. Like, yeah, it would like, what? You mean they made that stuff up? Yeah, it's crazy. So anyways, let's move on. I mean, because if you think about the same narratives, okay, the winners rewrite history, right? They always rewrite the history. Who wrote all the history books? Who owns all the publishing? Who, even back in the day, who paid the scribes or the monks to write books? I mean, think about that for a second. Like, what kind of planet we're on, like who writes the textbooks, right? Who's in charge? I mean, who pays those people? I mean, to find like self-published, like small press books, you have to go find these weird little metaphysical books in like hidden places to find really cool knowledge. Anyways.
But you're right, Travis, though, like saying the winners rewrite history. I call it, I got a name for it, the TMOPA. I call it the metamorphosis of projected archaeology.
There you go. Yeah, man. I like that. Okay, where were we? Body as the mitochondria switch from the glucose-based feeding system to the photonic-based energy feeding system. So that's what you're talking about. You're talking about our cells, right? Because that's just basically cells are almost all water, right? And so they're changing the cell structure. And instead of, let's see, I think I say it right here. Our mitochondria is utilizing light energy, the chromosomes and axiochromes, etc., and acting more and more like chloroplast, right? Like plants, and less feeding from glucose, carbon to crystalline morphogenesis, right? Holding more light energy. And this is where we come in by taking care of our avatars, especially now in the ascension process unfolds. Part of that is being done now, but more and more dormant DNA strands coming online and more of the higher frequency or dimensional shifting can take place. So it's kind of like the plants and the chloroplast. It's almost like our mitochondria is starting to act like that, where it's taking in more of the sunlight energy and instead of like feeding off of like what I said, like the glucose and carbs and all that or whatever, sugar. Or it'd be nice to always just get your sugars or whatever carbs from like an fruits and vegetables, right? Fruits. I mean, those guys that can like do all the yoga and meditate without eating for like 40 days and just drink water. Like they're like breatharians and they're feeding energy off of like the ethers. Because you can breathe through your skin too, actually. So okay, moving on. Please consider reducing consumption of heavy metals. That's all. I'm just saying consider. Consumption of heavy metals and toxic contaminants, and increasing a diet of antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and higher vibrational foods that can assist you and ease you into this process, as well as holistic health practices like qigong, yoga, meditation, mindfulness, walking and sitting in nature, exercise, structured water. And another one, which I do about 3 times because I go to the gym, the sauna. The sauna, do that sweat sauna, man, and sweat out all those toxins out of your.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, all those chemtrails that were going on before. there's less now. I'm gonna knock on wood, but
Mm.
there's less now around here that I've noticed even when I was taking care of dad sitting out back. Less of the spraying a lot in the last 2 years, about 2 years or so. But anyways, I mean, just the foods, the Monsanto, and Bayer, that whole or whatever it's glyphosate or whatever it's called, the herbicides and fungicides and pesticides and just all the toxins and stuff. Yeah, so to detox a lot, because when you're kind of unhealthy or you're sick, you're very I'm grumpy. So like I'm like and whiny so my cognitive ability is not very good, but like if you stay kind of healthy, if you can get you can get like that brain and adaptogenic or nootropics too, like adaptogenic herbs in there, like if you cook with them too, like do the old school stuff. Think about like in India, they do all those curries, right? And the curry's got the turmeric with a hot pepper or something, which is more bioavailable and it's an anti-inflammatory. So all that old ancient cooking was actually food is medicine. That's how they ate back then. They actually food was actually a medicine. You know what I'm saying? If you kind of have that perspective, if you consider having that, where was I? Oh, cold showers, you got the Wim Hof stuff, right? Because I mean, years ago, that's what we did. We jumped in rivers and stuff, and then maybe we lived our by a hot springs too, and we could do the hot springs too, or something. It was really good for our avatars. So that, because and I'll get into that where I talk about autophagy too, and mitophagy, and creating, because your cellular body regenerates itself, right? Your cells are, and the healthier you are, you can regenerate your cells and stuff. So, and that's a stressor. So that's why I'm going to talk about the epigenetics and the and autophagy and that stressor, that good stressor. So good stressors are like the exercise and this sauna and stuff like that, right? And that helps you regenerate and start your mitochondrial, what's called mitochondrial biogenesis. So it can produce more mitochondria in your cells, which are the producers of ATP, which is the energy. So it utilizes and creates more energy. And then you get more of those going, and then you can actually absorb more energy when you're out meditating, especially, right? That's what you're trying to utilize this avatar into that, like what they did in the old days, right? All these ascended masters, basically. I mean, Joshua, from when I was 17, I read about his life, and he went out from Israel or wherever those guys were, Jordan or wherever, and he went out the Silk Road. He went out to Kashmir and learned like a whole bunch of the Buddhist practices, basically yoga and meditation and stuff, and then brought that into his groups and stuff. So that's so that's kind of what we're talking about, doing the same kind of thing. Yeah. Wasn't that written? What they left that verse in the Bible, didn't they? Like that or whatever. I don't know how many times that thing's been edited and rewritten, but but what was that verse? Yeah. Oh, you can do things better or something like that. You will do things better than me or something. I don't know. Anyways. Please consider, okay, I already did that. Walking, biofield, exercise, structured water, cold showers, so that you can charge your biofield physiology, can become more capable of sustaining higher vibrational frequencies of a fifth dimensional expanded consciousness, and be more in alignment with Gaia and the cosmic consciousness. Be more in alignment with that source, and then you can feel it, because your heart has the big toroidal field, basically. That's the big one, right? To go from here, use your instinct or your intuition and your heart, right? But you stand your ground. You know what I mean? Like Gandhi, he stood his ground, but he wasn't totally passive, because he stood his ground. You know what I mean? Field of nutrigenomics explores how food and epigenetics work together to influence health and well-being. Our diets have also been shown to modify epigenetic tags in significant ways. DNA methylation. Let's see, I got to get down in here. Okay, that's the autophagy. DNA methylation should be in here. DNA methylation. Mitophagy, mitochondria, DNA methylation. We'll go back. Together to influence health and well-being, our diets have been shown to modify epigenetic tags in I read that. DNA methylation is a major epigenetic modification involving the addition of a methyl group to 5' position of cytosine by DNA methyltransferase to form 5-methylcytosine 5-MC. This epigenetic mark has the power to turn genes on and off. Not kidding. So like when people take their extra B vitamins, that's a good one too for methylation, right? To add a good bioavailable, they have, what do they call it nowadays? I don't know. They call it something else for the bioavailable vitamin Bs, right? There's some other stuff that I'm going to get into further on the next one. Epigenetic marks, genes on and off, inherited through cell division, foods, vitamins, supplements list in Alchemical Wizard 18. So one of the blogs I wrote, Alchemical Wizard 18, it's on the my website, and I'll go show you guys that in a second. Plant-based higher frequency foods, highly recommended for the transmutational process, this morphogenetic process. That's another term that they use for electromagnetic fields, or the toroidal fields or electromagnetic fields out there. They call them morphogenetic fields. So, and nowadays, actually, they have, we started talking, there's textbooks even on quantum biology now, and they're talking about morphogenetic fields in it. So it, please stay hydrated, structured water, yeah, away from electromagnetic fields, artificial. And yeah, so let's end there. And then, because the next one I'll go actually into stimulating autophagy for mitochondrial health, and then I'll read that wizard one, that epigenetic health and helping our dormant DNA reignite, because there's some supplements I've listed in here, like the B12, B6, folic acid, methionine. I mean, we can talk about it all. You can even talk about like the, you know, the peat that you can get with the trace minerals in it. Just like we can go into all of that. So
Okay.
I think what we'll do here is, yeah, so we'll go this, go back to this, and then I wanted to show you where, like, this is the web stuff here. So briefly, this is a description of Schumann resonances on the Heart Math Institute. It's pretty cool stuff on the Heart Math Institute, it talks about our biofield physiology, actually. And what was I gonna do over here? How do you get over here? How do you drop this down? Oh, go. Where's it at? Oh, you can't get to the tabs? Oh, man. How do you get to the tabs? I have to go like this. Ah, got it. Okay, where's I wanted to show you guys this. Like my website, because you can go and read all these blogs too. Like here's that blog that I just read, Alchemical Wizard 21. And so there's a whole bunch of stuff you can read on here on the website, but also the on the YouTube channel right here. There's like massive, and if you don't even want to watch me, you know, my thing, like I give these ones where I'm outdoor and I'm riding my bike and I sit and I talk and stuff, but there's these other cool ones like this one, the holistic health healing for the Ascension, where I just let the computer the AI read the blog itself, and they're a lot smaller, condensed. If you don't have a lot of time, you don't want to waste a lot of time, you know, because I go off on tangents. So anyways, I think what we'll do here is I am going to or can you see this?
Yes.
You still
Yes.
can. Okay, so now I can stop the share. Okay, I'm gonna stop share.
Yeah, thanks for that Heart Math Institute. I'm gonna check that out.
Yep.
And stop recording.